Marcus Washington built his architectural firm on integrity and excellence. When awarded the prestigious Riverfront Renewal Project, he never imagined it would become a battle for justice. Richard Kensington, a powerful developer with political connections, begins undermining Marcus at every turn. Safety features removed, signatures forged, access denied. But Marcus has something Kensington never expected: meticulous documentation of every violation, every insult, every threat. As the evidence mounts, Marcus uncovers a shocking pattern targeting minority-owned businesses. When corrupt officials try to bury the investigation, Marcus must decide: back down or redesign the system itself. One architect's stand against discrimination becomes a blueprint for justice that will change an entire city. Have you ever witnessed someone abuse their power, only to face unexpected consequences? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales of courage against corruption. Marcus Washington stood at the expansive window of his modest architectural firm, Washington Design and Associates. Morning light streamed across the drafting tables and illuminated the scale models that had earned him recognition across the Midwest. At 45, his salt and pepper beard framed a face marked by years of determination. He straightened his navy blue suit jacket, the same one he'd worn to receive the Urban Design Excellence Award last year. "Your 9 a.m. is here," said Diane, his office manager of 12 years. Marcus nodded, checking his watch. The city planning committee had requested a meeting, unusual timing considering he'd just submitted his proposal for the Riverfront Renewal Project yesterday. Commissioner James Bradley entered, followed by 2 city council members. "Marcus, thank you for seeing us on such short notice." "Of course," Marcus gestured toward the conference room where coffee awaited. "What can I do for you?" Bradley settled into a chair, his expression unusually animated. "We've reviewed all submissions for the Riverfront project, and the committee has reached a unanimous decision." Marcus maintained his professional demeanor despite feeling his heartbeat quicken. This $180 million project would revitalize 20 blocks of abandoned industrial waterfront. For a mid-sized firm like his, it would be transformative. "Your proposal stood out dramatically," Bradley continued, spreading out the renderings Marcus had submitted. "The integration of affordable housing with commercial spaces while preserving the historical elements, it's exactly what this city needs." The female council member, Rodriguez, if Marcus remembered correctly, nodded. "Your design addresses community concerns we didn't even ask bidders to consider. The flood mitigation elements alone would save millions long-term." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Those flood protections had meant countless late nights researching river patterns and consulting with environmental engineers. "We'd like to award Washington Design the contract," Bradley stated, sliding a folder across the table. "Full creative control with appropriate oversight, of course." Marcus reached for the folder with steady hands that belied his internal excitement. Inside was not just a contract but validation of 23 years of work since graduating from Harvard's architecture program. "I'm honored," he said simply. "When do we begin?" "There's one thing," Bradley hesitated. "The financial backing comes from Kensington Development Group. Richard Kensington will be the primary stakeholder." Marcus's expression remained neutral, though the name triggered immediate concern. Kensington Development was known for maximizing profits at the expense of quality and had a reputation for difficult partnerships, particularly with minority-owned businesses. "I understand," Marcus replied. "I look forward to creating something the whole city can be proud of." "There's a preliminary meeting tomorrow at City Hall, 2 p.m., Rodriguez added. "All stakeholders will be present." After they departed, Marcus called in his core team: Janelle, his brilliant young structural engineer; Omar, his sustainability specialist; and Vincent, who handled the historical preservation aspects. "The Riverfront project is ours," he announced. Their celebration was genuine but brief. Marcus had built his team to be thorough professionals. "Kensington Development is the financial partner," he continued, watching their expressions shift. "I know their reputation, but this is our opportunity to demonstrate excellence on a scale we haven't had before." Janelle leaned forward. "We've competed against firms triple our size for this. If we deliver, we'll be considered for projects nationwide." "Exactly." Marcus moved to the drafting table. "Vince, research every historical element on that waterfront. Omar, I want sustainable materials that won't break the budget. Janelle, double-check those flood calculations." We go into tomorrow's meeting overprepared. That evening, Marcus called his sister Tamara, a constant support since their parents passed away. "The Riverfront project is ours," he told her, finally allowing excitement to color his voice. "Marcus, that's wonderful. Dad would have been so proud." Their father had been a construction worker who'd always dreamed of designing buildings himself. His constant refrain, "Excellence leaves no room for excuses," had guided Marcus through architecture school and the challenges of building his firm from nothing. Kensington development is involved, he added. I've heard stories. So have I, Tamara replied, but you've faced worse. Remember Professor Whitman who said you'd never finish your thesis? Marcus laughed. Now his students study my buildings. After hanging up, Marcus reviewed his riverfront plans once more. The design incorporated elements honoring the neighborhood's history while creating modern, functional spaces. It was his vision for what the city could become, inclusive, sustainable, respectful of its past while embracing the future. Tomorrow he would meet Richard Kensington. Marcus prepared thoroughly, reviewing Kensington's previous projects and business approach. Knowledge was protection. Documentation was insurance. He set his alarm early. There were preparations to make before presenting his vision to someone known for seeing only dollar signs. As Marcus finally closed his laptop, he felt equal measures of pride and caution. This project could define his career legacy. He would ensure it was defined by excellence, regardless of what challenges Kensington might present. Marcus arrived at City Hall 30 minutes before the scheduled meeting, portfolio and digital presentations meticulously organized. He'd selected his charcoal gray suit, professional without ostentation, and wore the silver tie clip his father had given him upon his Harvard graduation. At precisely 1:55 p.m., Marcus entered conference room B. The long mahogany table was already half filled with stakeholders. 2 planning commissioners, the city's chief financial officer, and 3 representatives from various community organizations. Mr. Washington, Commissioner Bradley greeted him warmly. Please set up wherever you're comfortable. We're just waiting on Mr. Kensington. Marcus connected his laptop to the projection system, arranging his materials with practiced efficiency. At 2:10 p.m., the door swung open forcefully. Richard Kensington strode in, flanked by 2 associates carrying premium leather portfolios. Standing 6 feet tall with silver hair and an expertly tailored suit, Kensington commanded attention without effort. His entrance disrupted the room's professional atmosphere, creating an immediate power shift. Gentlemen, ladies, Kensington announced, not bothering with individual greetings. Apologies for the delay, finalizing another acquisition. He scanned the room, his gaze passing over Marcus momentarily before returning with subtle reassessment. Commissioner Bradley initiated introductions around the table. And this is Marcus Washington of Washington Design, the architectural firm selected for the project, Bradley concluded. Kensington extended his hand with practiced charm. Washington was it. Interesting choice for lead architect on something of this scale. Marcus kept his handshake firm and professional. Washington Design has completed 3 similar-scale projects in the Midwest, Mr. Kensington. Our portfolio includes the Lakeside Cultural Center, which won national sustainability recognition. Yes, I recall seeing something about that. Diversity initiatives are opening interesting doors these days, Kensington replied, his smile not reaching his eyes. He turned to address the room before Marcus could respond. Shall we begin? Time is money, especially with a $180 million investment. Marcus maintained his composed demeanor as he launched his presentation. The Riverfront Renewal Project presents a unique opportunity to transform abandoned industrial space into a vibrant community asset while honoring its historical significance. His slides displayed rendered images of tree-lined boulevards connecting affordable housing units with commercial spaces, all designed to maximize riverside views while incorporating flood mitigation systems. The architectural language seamlessly blended the area's brick industrial heritage with modern, sustainable materials. Each phase is designed for completion within. Marcus began explaining the timeline when Kensington interrupted. These community green spaces reduce potential commercial footage by nearly 20%, Kensington stated, standing to approach the screen. And these affordable housing allocations exceed requirements by double. That's potential premium real estate being underutilized. The green spaces actually increase adjacent property values by approximately 15%, Marcus countered calmly, advancing to a slide with supporting market research. And the mixed-income housing model has proven to create more sustainable economic growth in similar projects nationwide. Kensington turned to the group, effectively positioning himself as the presenter. While these social considerations are admirable, we need to focus on fiscal realities. I propose we reduce these public areas by half and convert the riverside affordable units to premium condominiums. Marcus observed Kensington systematically undermining his authority, noting how he positioned himself physically between Marcus and the city officials. Throughout the next hour, Kensington continued this pattern, referring to Marcus's design elements as preliminary concepts and starting points for discussion. When the community representatives expressed enthusiasm for Marcus's community integration elements, Kensington smoothly claimed credit. Yes, I specifically directed our architectural team to incorporate these communal spaces, though perhaps not quite so extensively. Marcus interjected with precise correction. To clarify, these elements were central to Washington Design's original submission, which the committee selected based on these specific community-focused innovations. Commissioner Rodriguez nodded. That's correct. The community integration was a primary factor in selecting this design. Kensington's expression tightened momentarily before he recovered. Of course, and I fully support the vision. I'm simply suggesting refinements to ensure financial viability. As the meeting concluded, Kensington approached Marcus while others gathered their materials. Washington, let me be direct, he said, voice lowered. This project needs a practical approach, not idealistic community designs that look good in architectural journals. I've guided dozens of developments like this to profitable completion. Mr. Kensington, my firm was selected for this project based on our comprehensive approach, Marcus responded evenly. I welcome collaborative refinement, but the core community elements are non-negotiable according to the city's requirements. Kensington's cordial facade briefly slipped. Let's be realistic about who drives these projects. Your firm wouldn't have been considered without the diversity requirements in public contracts. I'm trying to help you succeed beyond that checkbox. Marcus maintained his professional demeanor despite the clear implication. My firm's qualifications are documented in our portfolio and the committee's unanimous selection. I look forward to our next meeting where we can discuss specific technical aspects rather than revisiting settled design principles. As the room cleared, Commissioner Chen approached Marcus. That was instructive, she said quietly. Kensington has powerful connections, but your design has the committee's full support. Document everything moving forward. Marcus nodded, recognizing both the warning and the ally. Thank you, Commissioner, I always do. That evening, Marcus carefully recorded the day's interactions in a dedicated project journal, including verbatim quotes and noting who witnessed each exchange. 20 years of professional experience had taught him the value of meticulous documentation, especially when working with someone like Kensington, whose thinly veiled prejudice was already emerging beneath his polished exterior. Marcus sat at his desk reviewing the latest revisions to the Riverfront project plans. 3 weeks had passed since the initial meeting, and despite the tense introduction, he remained cautiously optimistic. His team had produced detailed construction documents for Phase 1, the community plaza and market halls that would serve as the development centerpiece. The intercom buzzed. Marcus, the courier from Kensington Development, just delivered the revised plans, Diane announced. Thank you, send them in. Marcus opened the sealed tube, spreading the large format prints across his conference table. His methodical review quickly identified discrepancies between these drawings and what his firm had submitted. The community plaza had been reduced by 30%. The affordable housing units had been repositioned to the least desirable section of the development. Most concerning, several key safety features in the flood mitigation system had been either modified or eliminated entirely. Marcus documented each alteration with photographs, creating a side-by-side comparison with his original submissions. He then called Janelle into his office. These modifications compromise structural integrity and flood protection, Janelle confirmed after her review. The reduced foundation depth alone violates building codes for structures this close to the river. Marcus nodded grimly. Schedule a meeting with Kensington for tomorrow. We need to address these immediately. As he continued examining the drawings, something caught his eye on the approval page, his signature, except he had never signed off on these modifications. The forgery was skillful but unmistakable to him. The flourish on the W was slightly exaggerated compared to his actual signature. Marcus immediately took photos of the falsified signature and called his attorney, Thomas Walker. Document everything, Thomas advised. Don't alert Kensington that you've noticed the forgery yet. We need to establish a pattern of behavior. The following morning, Marcus arrived at Kensington Development Group's downtown offices, carrying both sets of plans. Richard's executive assistant directed him to wait in the lobby. After 45 minutes, a power play Marcus had anticipated, he was finally escorted to Kensington's corner office. Washington, this is unexpected, Kensington said without rising from behind his imposing desk. We're proceeding on schedule. The city planning department already has our revised submissions. Marcus placed both sets of plans on the desk. These revisions were made without consultation with Washington Design, the architect of record. They compromise safety and violate our contract terms. Kensington leaned back, barely glancing at the plans. Minor value engineering adjustments. Standard practice. Reducing flood mitigation systems in a river basin with documented flooding history is not minor, Marcus countered. Neither is falsifying my professional signature on plans I never approved. A flicker of tension crossed Kensington's face before he regained his practiced composure. Strong accusation without proof. My team assures me you were consulted on all changes. Perhaps there was a communication breakdown on your end. Marcus maintained steady eye contact. I have documented every communication since project inception. There was no consultation on these changes which compromise public safety and violate building codes. Listen, Washington, Kensington's tone shifted. This is how development works in the real world. Architects provide the pretty pictures and developers make them financially feasible. Your design was impressive for a firm of your scale, but unrealistic. My design was selected by the City Committee for its integration of safety, sustainability, and community needs with financial viability, Marcus stated firmly. I'm requesting these unauthorized changes be withdrawn immediately and the original plans reinstated. Kensington stood suddenly. Do you understand who you're challenging? I've developed half this city's commercial district. One word from me and your firm won't see another major contract in this region. Is that a threat, Mr. Kensington? Marcus asked calmly, activating the voice recording app on his phone, legal in their state with single-party consent. It's a reality check, Kensington snapped. Architects like you get these contracts through diversity quotas, not merit. I'm trying to prevent a disaster when your inadequate design fails. My design meets every code requirement and engineering standard, Marcus replied evenly. The modifications your team made do not. As architect of record, I cannot and will not approve them. Kensington circled the desk. I have relationships with every city council member, the mayor, and the building commissioner. This project proceeds with my revisions. Your signature is already on them. A signature I never provided, Marcus stated. Prove it, Kensington challenged. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with people who understand how business actually works. As Marcus prepared to leave, Kensington added, the site inspection is scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. Don't bother attending. I've advised security that your services are no longer required on site. The following morning, Marcus arrived at the construction site precisely at 9:45 a.m., architectural plans and identification in hand. As predicted, the security guard checked his clipboard and shook his head. Sorry, Mr. Washington, you're not on the approved list for today's inspection. Marcus displayed his city-issued credentials. As the architect of record on this project, I have legal right and professional obligation to inspect ongoing work. The guard appeared uncomfortable but remained firm. Orders came directly from Mr. Kensington, sir. Marcus took out his phone and began recording. Please state your name and position and confirm that you are denying the architect of record access to a construction site inspection. Before the guard could respond, a black SUV pulled up. Kensington emerged with two city inspectors. Washington, this is becoming harassment, Kensington called out. I told you your presence isn't required today. Marcus addressed the inspectors directly. Gentlemen, I'm Marcus Washington, the architect of record for this project. Mr. Kensington has submitted unauthorized modifications to my designs that compromise safety and violate building codes. He has also prevented me from performing my professional duty to inspect the site. The inspectors exchanged uncomfortable glances. These are serious allegations, one inspector noted. Baseless ones, Kensington interrupted. Mr. Washington's firm provided initial concept designs. My team of engineers finalized the construction documents. His services are no longer needed. That contradicts our contract and the city's project approval, Marcus stated calmly. I have documentation showing unauthorized changes and a falsified signature on the revised plans. This isn't the venue for contract disputes, Kensington declared, physically positioning himself between Marcus and the entrance. The inspection proceeds as scheduled. As Marcus attempted to follow them onto the site, Kensington blocked his path, their shoulders colliding. This is private property now, Washington. Leave or I'll have security escort you out. Marcus stepped back, maintaining his professional demeanor despite the clear escalation. You're physically preventing me from fulfilling my professional obligations. This will be documented. Document whatever you want, Kensington replied with a dismissive wave. No one who matters will care. Marcus departed the site, immediately calling Commissioner Chen to report the incident. Throughout the confrontation, his recorder had captured every word, another piece of evidence in the growing case file he was methodically building. That evening, Marcus reviewed his options with Thomas. The pattern was clear. Kensington was systematically cutting corners, eliminating safety features, and attempting to remove Marcus from his own project. The foundation of what should have been a landmark development was cracking before construction had truly begun. The morning after the site confrontation, Marcus arrived at his office to find Commissioner Evelyn Chen waiting in the reception area. In her mid-50s with practical short-cropped hair and minimal jewelry, Chen had a reputation for meticulous attention to detail. Mr. Washington, may we speak privately? She asked, her expression serious. In his office, Marcus offered coffee which Chen declined with a quick shake of her head. I've reviewed the plans submitted for tomorrow's approval meeting, Chen began. The drawings bearing your signature differ significantly from what your firm originally presented. Marcus opened his laptop. I'm documenting these discrepancies systematically. My signature was falsified on those modifications. Chen nodded. I suspected as much. The flood mitigation reductions alone raised immediate concerns. Those changes would never have passed your professional review. I have both sets of plans documented with timestamp photographs, Marcus explained, displaying his evidence files. I've also recorded Kensington physically preventing my access to the construction site yesterday. This isn't Kensington's first questionable project, Chen revealed, lowering her voice. But he's never been this blatant. Perhaps he assumed you wouldn't challenge him. A miscalculation on his part, Marcus stated firmly. Chen studied him for a moment. The commissioner's office can delay approval pending investigation, but Kensington has powerful allies on the council. We need irrefutable documentation of code violations and professional misconduct. Marcus quickly outlined his strategy. I'm creating a comprehensive comparison of the original approved plans versus these unauthorized modifications, highlighting each safety compromise and code violation. I've retained counsel to address the contract violations and signature forgery. Good, Chen approved. Document everything twice. Record all interactions legally. Contact the State Architectural Licensing Board. They take signature forgery extremely seriously. After Chen departed, Marcus implemented a systematic documentation protocol. He created a secure cloud repository containing original design submissions with approval timestamps, unauthorized modifications with detailed annotations of each compromise, photographic evidence of the falsified signature, audio recordings of all interactions with Kensington, a chronological incident log with time, date, and witness information. By mid-afternoon, Marcus had enlisted Janelle to prepare a technical analysis of safety implications. Their findings were alarming. The modified foundation specifications reduced flood resistance by 40%, while eliminating specific structural reinforcements decreased earthquake safety below minimum code requirements. This isn't just cutting corners, Janelle observed. These changes could genuinely endanger people. Marcus nodded grimly. Prepare a detailed report comparing both designs against current building codes. I need irrefutable technical evidence. At 5:30 p.m., Marcus's phone rang. Thomas Walker, his attorney. I've reviewed everything you sent, Thomas began. You've got multiple legal grounds here. Contract violation, professional signature forgery, possibly fraud. The evidence is strong, particularly the voice recordings. What's our next step? Marcus asked. File formal complaints with the Architectural Licensing Board and the City Ethics Commission tomorrow morning. I'll prepare cease and desist documentation regarding the signature forgery. Most importantly, continue gathering evidence of pattern behavior. That evening, Marcus received an unexpected email from a junior designer at another architectural firm. The message was brief but telling. Heard about your Kensington situation. Same thing happened to my boss last year, Woodlawn Project. Different minority-owned firm, same pattern, he might be willing to talk. Marcus forwarded the email to Thomas, adding it to his growing evidence file. A pattern was emerging, Kensington specifically targeting minority-owned professional firms, assuming they lacked resources or connections to challenge him effectively. The following morning, Marcus filed formal complaints with both the State Architectural Licensing Board and City Ethics Commission. He provided comprehensive documentation packages to each, including technical analyses of code violations and safety compromises. By noon, Kensington's response arrived via his attorney, aggressive and dismissive. The letter claimed all modifications were standard value engineering improvements and implied Marcus was obstructing progress due to professional inexperience with projects of this scale. Marcus forwarded the letter to Thomas with a brief note, more evidence of pattern behavior and attempted professional disparagement. That afternoon, Marcus met with two other minority business owners who had previously worked with Kensington. Their experiences revealed a consistent strategy: initial collaboration followed by systematic marginalization, unauthorized changes, and eventually professional discreditation if they objected. He told everyone my firm couldn't handle the technical aspects, one landscape architect explained. By the time the project finished, my designs were gutted but my name was still attached. When problems developed, guess who took the blame? Marcus added their statements to his documentation. The foundation was set, not for Kensington's compromised building, but for exposing a pattern of discrimination and dangerous business practices that had gone unchallenged for too long. Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus implemented a structured investigation protocol to systematically document Kensington's pattern of misconduct. Each finding was categorized, timestamped, and cross-referenced in a secure database that Thomas helped establish. On Tuesday morning, Marcus received an email notification from the licensing board confirming receipt of his complaint. The attached case number indicated formal proceedings had been initiated, the first concrete reinforcement of his position. "Mr. Washington, there's a Mr. Terrell Jackson on line 2, Diane announced through the intercom. "Says he worked with Kensington on the Westside Commons project." Marcus picked up immediately. "Mr. Jackson, thank you for reaching out." "Call me Terrell," the voice responded. "Word's getting around about your situation with Kensington. My engineering firm had nearly identical experiences last year: safety compromises, blocked site access, professional undermining. Would you be willing to provide a formal statement?" Marcus asked. "Already drafting it," Terrell confirmed. 5 other minority-owned subcontractors from that project are doing the same. Kensington's been operating this way for years, but nobody's had the documentation or resources to challenge him effectively. By Thursday, Marcus had collected statements from 7 professionals who had encountered similar discrimination and safety compromises on Kensington projects. Each account revealed consistent patterns. 1. Initial inclusion to satisfy diversity requirements. 2. Systematic marginalization during implementation. 3. Unauthorized modifications reducing quality safety. 4. Professional discreditation if challenges arose. 5. Strategic use of political connections to suppress complaints. Marcus scheduled a meeting with Commissioner Chen to present his expanded findings. The documentation now extended beyond his individual case to demonstrate a systemic pattern of discriminatory practices and safety violations across multiple projects. "This is significantly more extensive than I anticipated," Chen acknowledged, reviewing the evidence files. "The board can't ignore this pattern." As they discussed next steps, Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from Diane. "Urgent, check West River Business Journal website." Marcus excused himself and pulled up the site on his tablet. The headline made his stomach tighten. "Riverfront project delays, sources question architect's competence." The article cited unnamed sources familiar with the project, claiming Marcus's firm was struggling with technical requirements and causing costly delays through inexperience. Kensington was quoted directly. "We remain committed to this project despite unexpected challenges with our initially selected partners." "He's moving to discredit you publicly," Chen observed, reading over Marcus's shoulder. "Classic diversion tactic." That afternoon, Marcus's inbox filled with concerned messages from clients and colleagues who had seen the article. Kensington was attempting to damage his professional reputation before the investigation could proceed. Marcus contacted Thomas immediately to develop a strategic response. They drafted a carefully worded statement addressing the false claims while avoiding any language that could complicate the ongoing investigation. The following morning, Marcus received another blow. 2 potential clients called to postpone meetings about upcoming projects, citing concerns about capacity after reading the Business Journal article. "This is exactly what happened to me," explained Carmen Rodriguez, an interior designer who had worked with Kensington previously. "He used his media connections to question my professional capabilities. By the time the truth emerged, I'd lost 3 major contracts." Marcus updated his documentation to include this new pattern of retaliatory professional sabotage. Each development reinforced the systematic nature of Kensington's tactics. By week's end, Commissioner Chen called with critical information. "The Ethics Commission has agreed to expand their investigation to include all of Kensington's city-contracted projects from the past 5 years. Your documentation of pattern behavior was the tipping point." While this represented significant progress, Kensington escalated his counterattack. Through industry connections, he attempted to have Marcus's firm removed from 2 ongoing, unrelated projects by spreading concerns about capacity issues and quality control problems. Marcus countered by implementing perfect transparency with all current clients, sharing progress documentation, meeting all deadlines with flawless deliverables, and maintaining meticulous communication records. Meanwhile, Thomas prepared formal cease and desist documentation regarding both the signature forgery and defamatory statements. The legal action would serve dual purposes, addressing immediate professional harm while generating additional documentation for the broader investigation. "We're building a reinforced case structure," Thomas explained. "Each supporting element strengthens the overall framework, just like one of your buildings." Despite mounting pressure and personal stress, Marcus maintained his professional focus. Every interaction with Kensington and his representatives was documented with clinical precision. Each retaliatory action was categorized and added to the evidence database. The foundation they were building wasn't physical, It was a case that would ultimately expose not just individual misconduct, but a systemic problem that had undermined professional ethics and public safety for years. Like any well-designed structure, it required methodical reinforcement to withstand the inevitable counterpressure. On Monday morning, Marcus convened an emergency strategy meeting with his core team and legal counsel. The whiteboard in his conference room displayed a comprehensive timeline of events, categorizing Kensington's actions into distinct violation patterns. The Ethics Commission investigation has expanded to include all Kensington projects over the past 5 years, Marcus began, but we need to accelerate the timeline before more safety compromises occur. Thomas nodded, reviewing his legal notes. We've compiled sufficient documentation to demonstrate three critical patterns: systemic discrimination against minority-owned firms, deliberate safety standard violations, and fraudulent certification of non-compliant designs. Challenge remains Kensington's political connections, Janelle pointed out. He's already leveraging council relationships to delay the investigation. Marcus pulled up a document on the projector. I've analyzed the organizational structure of oversight bodies involved. There's a strategic opportunity here. The City Council's Public Works Committee has scheduled an emergency session regarding riverfront development safety. The team methodically constructed a multi-layered presentation combining 1. Technical documentation of safety violations, foundation instability, flood protection inadequacies. 2. Chronological evidence of professional misconduct, forged signatures, unauthorized modifications. 3. Pattern documentation from multiple minority-owned firms, 7 signed affidavits. 4. Financial analysis showing correlation between safety compromises and profit margin increases. Presentation format is critical, Marcus emphasized. We need absolute precision and irrefutable technical evidence. The following afternoon, Marcus and Thomas presented their findings to the City Council Committee. Council member Rodriguez chaired the session, with Commissioner Chen in attendance alongside 3 other council members, including 2 known Kensington allies. Mr. Washington, you've made serious allegations regarding the Riverfront project, Rodriguez began. Please present your evidence. For 45 minutes, Marcus delivered a methodical, evidence-based presentation. Each claim was supported by timestamped documentation, technical analysis, and witness statements. The engineering calculations demonstrating safety compromises proved particularly compelling. These modified foundation specifications reduce flood resistance by 40.3%, Marcus explained, displaying side-by-side comparisons. In a 100-year flood scenario, this modification creates catastrophic failure potential affecting not just the development but surrounding neighborhoods. As questions began, one of Kensington's council allies attempted to redirect the discussion. Architectural disagreements are common in large projects. Isn't this simply a professional difference of opinion rather than misconduct? Thomas responded precisely. Falsifying an architect's signature on modified plans isn't a professional difference. It's fraud under State Statute 481129. The technical safety compromises aren't matters of opinion but quantifiable violations of building codes 1926850 through 1926860. When Kensington finally addressed the committee, his typical confidence appeared strained. These claims misrepresent standard value engineering practices. Washington Design lacks experience with projects of this scale, which explains their concerning inability to work within practical budget parameters. Mr. Kensington, Chen interjected, the technical documentation clearly indicates modifications reducing safety below minimum code requirements. Are you suggesting that following safety codes is optional? Despite Kensington's practice deflections, the evidence timeline proved difficult to dismiss. As the session concluded, Rodriguez announced, the committee will refer these findings to the district attorney's office for review of potential criminal violations while suspending project approvals pending full investigation. This represented significant progress, but outside the council chambers, Kensington approached Marcus directly. Impressive performance. Unfortunately, 2 committee members owe me significant favors. This investigation will quietly disappear within weeks. The implied threat proved accurate. 3 days later, Chen called Marcus with disturbing news. There's pressure to classify this as a contractual dispute rather than ethical misconduct. Kensington's influence is substantial. That evening, Marcus received an unexpected email from a former Kensington employee requesting a confidential meeting. The sender, identified only as JK, claimed to possess internal documents demonstrating a systematic pattern of safety violations and discriminatory practices across multiple projects. At a quiet coffee shop the following morning, Jensen Keller, Kensington's former operations manager, slid a USB drive across the table. 3 years of internal communications documenting deliberate cost-cutting through safety reductions. The discrimination against minority-owned firms is explicit in these emails. They specifically target firms they believe lack resources to challenge them effectively. Why come forward now? Marcus asked. The Westside Commons Foundation is already showing stress fractures from those compromised specifications, Jensen explained. I can't have lives at risk because of practices I facilitated. With this new evidence, Marcus and Thomas implemented their contingency strategy, bypassing potentially compromised channels through strategic media engagement. Direct investigation may be vulnerable to Kensington's influence, Thomas acknowledged, but public transparency creates accountability. Marcus carefully organized the evidence, redacting personally identifying information while preserving the integrity of technical documentation. The resulting package was delivered to 3 entities simultaneously. 1. Alicia Ramirez, an investigative journalist with the Metropolitan Times. 2. The State Attorney General's Construction Fraud Division. 3. The Federal Housing and Urban Development Compliance Office. The comprehensive documentation package included internal Kensington communications revealing deliberate safety compromises, financial records showing correlation between safety reductions and profit increases, pattern evidence of discriminatory practices targeting minority-owned firms, technical analysis of code violations across multiple projects, witness statements from 7 firms experiencing similar misconduct. Within 48 hours, Ramirez published the first in a series of investigative articles titled Blueprint for Fraud: How Kensington Development Compromised Safety for Profit. The documented evidence proved irrefutable, triggering investigations from multiple regulatory agencies simultaneously. The redesign was complete, not of the Riverfront project, but of the accountability structure that would finally address Kensington's long-standing pattern of discrimination and dangerous business practices. Alicia Ramirez's investigative series in the Metropolitan Times triggered a cascade of regulatory responses. By Wednesday morning, 3 separate investigations had launched simultaneously. 1. The State Attorney General's Construction Fraud Division initiated a formal investigation into the falsified architectural approvals. 2. The city's building department implemented an emergency review of all active Kensington projects. 3. The Federal Housing and Urban Development Compliance Office opened an inquiry into discriminatory practices in federally subsidized developments. Marcus monitored these developments while maintaining meticulous documentation of each investigative thread. His office became an evidence coordination center, with Thomas establishing secure protocols for information sharing across agencies. At 9:17 a.m., Commissioner Chen called. The City Council has scheduled an emergency executive session this afternoon. Kensington's attempting damage control through his political connections. Expected, Marcus responded, consulting his contingency flowchart. We've prepared supplementary documentation for each relevant committee member. By noon, public response to Ramirez's reporting had intensified. Community organizations from neighborhoods affected by previous Kensington projects organized a demonstration outside City Hall demanding comprehensive safety inspections. At 3:45 p.m., the news broke. The district attorney had filed preliminary charges against Richard Kensington for fraud, document falsification, and willful endangerment through construction safety violations. The Associated Press release cited overwhelming documentary evidence of systematic safety compromises for financial gain. Kensington's legal team immediately launched a counteroffensive, issuing statements characterizing the charges as politically motivated and questioning the legitimacy of the evidence. However, their strategy faltered when faced with the technical precision of Marcus's documentation. The engineering calculations are irrefutable, stated the city's chief building inspector during a press conference. The modified specifications demonstrably reduce structural integrity below minimum safety thresholds. By Friday, the investigation expanded to include Kensington's banking relationships when financial records revealed a pattern of incentive payments to officials who expedited approvals for compromised designs. 2 city inspectors were placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Marcus received a call from Mayor Harrington requesting a private meeting. In the mayor's office, Marcus found himself face-to-face with both the mayor and the city manager. Mr. Washington, the mayor began, your documentation has exposed significant vulnerabilities in our project oversight protocols. Beyond addressing immediate safety concerns, we need to implement structural reforms to prevent similar situations. I've prepared recommendations for systemic improvements, Marcus responded, presenting a document outlining enhanced verification protocols, independent technical review requirements, and accountability mechanisms. The mayor studied the proposal. The city council is establishing a special commission on development ethics reform. Would you consider serving as its architectural representative? Marcus accepted, recognizing the opportunity to create lasting structural change beyond the individual case. Over the next 2 weeks, events unfolded rapidly. The district attorney expanded charges against Kensington to include witness tampering and obstruction of justice. Construction inspectors discovered stress fractures in the Westside Commons foundations, validating concerns about compromised specifications. 4 additional development companies came forward with documentation of similar discriminatory practices. The city implemented emergency inspections of all active Kensington projects, revealing safety concerns in 73% of sites. Throughout this period, Marcus maintained his professional focus, providing technical expertise to inspection teams while continuing to document each development. His firm's reputation for integrity grew as their role in exposing the safety issues became widely recognized. On Tuesday morning, Marcus received notification that the Riverfront project's development rights had been rescinded from Kensington Development Group. By Wednesday, the City Council voted unanimously to reinstate the original Washington design plans with appropriate safety specifications. Your original vision will proceed as designed, Commissioner Rodriguez informed him. The financing structure has been revised to ensure appropriate safety oversight. The Metropolitan Times published an editorial titled Architectural Integrity: How Professional Ethics Protected Public Safety, highlighting Marcus's methodical documentation and unwavering adherence to professional standards. 6 weeks after Ramirez's initial article, Kensington Development Group filed for bankruptcy protection as investigations revealed systemic financial improprieties. Richard Kensington himself faced multiple criminal charges with substantial documentary evidence supporting each count. At the groundbreaking ceremony for the revised Riverfront project, Marcus stood alongside community leaders, city officials, and representatives from the other minority-owned firms who had contributed evidence to the investigation. Mayor Harrington addressed the gathered crowd. This project represents more than urban renewal. It demonstrates our commitment to integrity, safety, and equal opportunity in development. The Riverfront project will stand as a monument to what we can achieve when we prioritize community well-being over expedience. Marcus's redesigned project proceeded with enhanced oversight protocols. Each phase implemented his original vision of community integration, environmental resilience, and historical preservation while maintaining stringent safety standards. The Ethics Reform Commission implemented comprehensive changes to project approval processes, including 1. Independent technical verification requirements. 2. Enhanced whistleblower protections for safety concerns. 3. Transparent documentation of all design modifications. 4. Strengthen diversity accountability in contracting. 5. Multi-level approval requirements for safety-critical elements. 1 year later, as the first phase of the Riverfront project neared completion, Marcus took his sister Tamara on a tour of the construction site. The community plaza was taking shape exactly as he had envisioned, a vibrant public space connecting affordable housing with commercial opportunities while honoring the area's industrial heritage. "Dad would be so proud," Tamara remarked, watching construction crews implement Marcus's carefully crafted designs. Marcus nodded. He always said excellence leaves no room for excuses. As they stood overlooking the site, Marcus reflected on the structural changes that extended far beyond this single project. His unwavering commitment to professional integrity had not only preserved his individual design, but had reinforced the foundation of ethical development practices throughout the city, a legacy more enduring than any building he would ever design.